Hey, everyone. Welcome to the AfricanMusicLaw.com show. This is episode 152 for those keeping up. AML fam, it's so exciting to be here yet on another Sunday to talk to you about the business of music and entertainment law. I'm really excited about our guest today, but before I bring him on, let's ensure we definitely welcome new viewers and listeners too, since this will be converted into the podcast version as well. So welcome. If this is your first time spending quality time with us, I really appreciate it. For me, the most priced gift that I can give anyone is my time, not the expensive gift and all the other stuff that goes with it. It really is my time. So when people spend time with me, I really appreciate it. Thank you for spending time with me and the AML community. To get more of this, all you have to do is go to africamusiclaw.com to subscribe. And for purposes of the podcast, you can subscribe on all major podcast streaming platforms, whether Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the list goes on. So what do we do here? We are about the business of empowering the African artist. Simple bottom line. And obviously that intersects with all aspects of the creative industry, and not just the African artists, the creative industry at large. So whether they're on the continent in terms of the African artists and creative industry, or across the entire globe, we make it our business to be all about that. And so you can absolutely focus on and come to us each week as we continue to talk about the many issues that affect that particular industry. 151 episodes later, thousands of articles on africamusiclaw.com. There's a wealth of information. It's almost a library that you can really learn so much about the industry and expand your knowledge, expand your business skills, among so many other things. Our guest today is super exciting. We haven't really talked about this area of music business and just generally business in general. Overall, so far so good, because for the most part, even when I've been observing this space, the conversation is happening on the Western end, but not necessarily as much publicly on the African end. And that's just really focused on digital marketing and all aspects of digital marketing. So I guess today we are going to be doing that. Let me introduce you to him and tell you what he's about. His name is Steve Osagie. A lot of people know him as Steve Spotlight, and he is a music executive with almost 2 decades of working with labels and artists. He's known for managing JJC Skills, one of Africa's iconic artists turned prolific filmmaker and TV producer. Check out Sin One TV, Sin One Productions. Excellent stuff that JJC is doing alongside his wife, who is an actress and filmmaker, Funke Akindele. In addition, Osagie is a digital marketer and founder of Spotlight Marketing Agency, a results-driven company providing services in social media campaign influencer marketing, music digital promotion, video and production, website design, and branding. In 2018, Osagie was one of the co-producers of Medium Africa Lagos. The event has been held every year since then. And Osagie is also the creator of a 390-day social media content calendar for artists, which includes over 365 posts, 50 additional post ideas, and popular music hashtags to help artists get their fans engaged on social media. I'm excited. Let's invite and welcome Steve Osagie. Welcome. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Dweck. It's a pleasure to be here. Ma, I've made it. I'm finally on your. You get a chance to interview me. How you guys doing?
Thank you. It's so good to have you be here. One of the things I've noticed over time, I pay very careful attention and obviously vet the kinds of people I invite to come to the African Music Law Show. And I've noticed that you give so much value. You're always giving value to the community. Every time I see you, no matter what, it's always putting in so much value. So I actually want to start from there. What is it that drives you in terms of the constant pouring into the industry the way you do, from artists to other industry professionals?
Thank you again. Thank you for everyone that's watching. Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure. For me, I think kind of coming up in the industry, again, I kind of moved from Nigeria to the UK. But I started in the music industry when I was 16, because a friend of mine, one of my best friends, wanted to be a rapper. Literally, that's how we put together our first showcase when we were like 16 years old, and so on and so forth. But I never wanted people from the diaspora, African artists, or people that were into African music or creatives to have knowledge as an excuse for them not being successful. And I think that's why I also fell into artist management as well. Is I literally wanted the artists to have the information that they could utilize. So now it's all about the execution. So for a long time, we've always said information has always been hidden from us. So I'm like, you know what, the most I could do is, give out information that I know is valuable for my audience. So it's one thing you put in that information. It's another thing put that information that is valuable to the audience that you need that information. I'm breaking down in such a very simplistic way that they can literally take it away and execute on it and get results. And literally that's what I've been about. And I've always believed in kind of giving and really, pouring out and try. I think that's why I name everything I do Spotlight. It's all about putting everybody else in the spotlight. And that's the reason why I named my company Spotlight Management and Spotlight Digital Agency. But the most important thing is access to information that you can literally, and in a very simplified form, because when it comes to the music business or even social media or digital marketing, people can make it very complicated and be speaking big English. I like to take it from the perspective of if you're an upcoming artist and you need to try to get, traction on your track, what do you do? I can tell you how you can do this, but what do I need to do? I like to really give you executional tips and advice that, like, even if I just did one or two things Steve told me to do, in the next year, you'll see huge results. And I've got a couple of results from that from a lot of clients. So literally that's what drives me. And I also believe what you give is what comes back. I believe in energy. If I'm going to give positive energy and give back, then that's going to come back. And hopefully, even if it's not me, my kids can benefit from all the seeds that I'm sowing. And that is who I am. And that's what I pretty much, I guess, stand for.
Okay, so let's go back to that 16-year-old and start off with, you mentioned you relocated from Nigeria to the UK.
Yeah.
So let's just paint a background a little bit. Tell us what it was like growing up in Nigeria and what region you're from in Nigeria.
Yeah, originally my full name is actually Osagie. I'm a Benin boy through and through. Both my friends are from Edo and Benin. So although I was born in Lagos, I never really stayed in Benin at all. And both my parents, we stayed in Lagos. I'm the last of three boys. So my brother I have two older siblings. They live in the States in Atlanta. So growing up in being the last of three kids, my mother always said I'm the kind of person that when I go out to play, I always come back with a bunch of people. Like she always used to say that when I literally go out, you see like the whole neighborhood. The kids will all follow me. Exactly. Everybody just comes to my house and all those things will get destroyed. But I've always just loved being around people. And I think because both my parents come from kind of big families. And like my granddad on my mom's side had 8 wives and had 52 kids.
Oh,
so
wow.
Literally, yeah. So I've always had cousins, relatives, like a bunch of people around me all the time. So I've always loved being in the midst of people. So when I finished university, when I finished my GCSE in Nigeria, so I went to Command Children's School, Yaba. And after that, I went to secondary school in Benin for a year called Greater Tomorrow. I remember, Greater Tomorrow for 1 year. That was an experience. That was an experience because I nearly died of typhoid. Typhoid nearly killed me. I literally had
typhoid fever.
I literally had typhoid for like a whole month, but the nurse kept on thinking it was headache. I was having headaches. I kept on giving paracetamol until luckily I had a cousin and I told her, listen, when you get home, because the school was a day student on a boarding school, I'm like, tell my uncle that I'm sick. You need to come see me. When he came to get me and took me to the hospital that same evening, the doctor said if they had left me in that school for another day or two, I would have died because I was literally that weak and I was literally puking up bad every single time. So after that, my dad said, no. So I went back to Lagos and I went to Model College in Bokuta. And I went there for the next 6 years. And immediately I finished writing my GCSE, my last paper, a week later I was in the UK, literally.
What is a GCSE for people who may not know?
GCSE is like kind of like WAEC. It's pretty much like A levels, like here in the UK. So I came to the UK, but I came here because most of my mother's relatives lived in the UK, so she wanted me to be closer to her people. And pretty much my journey in the UK started. And I had to find my way. although I'm very close, I've always had people around. This was the first time that I was now literally in a way by myself.
Okay,
My dad had
we'll get to really talk about that. But
yeah,
you and I have something in common. I went to command as well, but day school, Ikeja, the military cantonment in Ikeja. So that's good because you said you first went to command, and I'm sorry that that experience was not very good, where
yeah.
you almost lost your life with typhoid fever. And I'm glad that we're sitting here, and instead of you putting everyone in the spotlight, I'm putting you in the spotlight this time
Thank
around. So that we switch things up a little bit. So
you.
let's go back to you telling the story of you're done with school, take all the necessary entrance exams to high school, right? Secondary school is what you're taking all those exams for, correct? To get
Yeah,
into high school, what is pretty much high school here in the US, but secondary school over in the UK. Is that what it is,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Miss Udo, like the sound
Yeah.
is a bit. The sound there's like a little bit of echo in the sound. I don't know if you can hear it.
No, I cannot. You sound really good.
Yeah, so it's on my end. I can hear like a little.
I do
Um.
not I do not hear any echo. You sound very, very good.
Okay. Okay. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
If I do, I'll definitely let you know. Yeah.
Okay.
But I was talking about how on your end you had an opportunity to take all the necessary exams to get into secondary school, right? It would be secondary school in the UK, correct?
Yes. No, I finished secondary school in Nigeria, so I was
Okay.
just when you finish your GCSE, naturally, and WAEC, you go to university. So I was at
Okay.
that point where, yeah, I could have
Okay.
gone to yeah.
Got it. So now it's university level, but then you're now in a new country and
Yeah.
basically starting from scratch. Were you coming to the UK to go to school? Is that what the plan was?
Yes, that's what it was. I think at the time, universities have been having a lot of strikes happening where, you know, people at times were home for like 2 years, 3 years. A degree that was supposed to take 3 years or taking 6 years. So at that time,
Mm.
my parents were like, you know what? Nah, we don't think that is the best. So let's try and get our kids to where we know they have a system that kind of works and where they can go in and kind of really wanted to give us the best opportunity as possible to really just try and excel. So that's how come I ended up coming to the UK just so not to go through that process of going to university and possibly not being able to get out of university for 6 years, literally.
Okay, so tell us what that initial experience was. Where were you living? Liverpool, Brixton, whereabouts were you staying?
When I came, I went to Southwest London. So that's why I call. So every time you say Southwest London, you're like Southwest, blah 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 blah. I'm a Southwest London boy through and through. So my parents, my dad has a place in Tootenberg. So Tooten is right like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes away from Brixton,
Okay.
right? 10, 15 minutes away from Clapham. So it's a very cultural zone. A lot of the well-known urban artists that you know now, that is where they literally reside or came from. So it was a great melting pot for me. Then I also went to a college. So when I first came, funny thing is, I couldn't go to university straight away. I had to now go back and redo like A levels
Mm.
because I did at the time. Yeah, I had to redo A levels to be able to give me access to getting that to go into submitting what they call ACAS, that now gives you entry to university. So I had to go through that whole process for like another 2 years before I could now go on to university. Literally, so it was a good experience. That's where I met my initial sting into the music industry. Actually started from. So that's why I met like 5 of my best friends at college, literally.
Mm.
That are still my friends till today. So my friend that's a rapper, that's a Ghanaian artist, that was a Ghanaian dude, but rapper, really, really sick. They also met another friend that was a DJ, but also very good in graffiti. Also met another friend that was that rough cut. So he used to make beats and production. Then I met my friend Ayo. He's a very analytical person. He's that IT person. Then I
Mm.
met my other friend Uchi, that's a very good networking person like me. So literally, like in that whole clique, we literally had individuals that in any kind of setting you really want that can operate in different positions.
Mm.
And I was obviously that person that I was like water. That's what I also tell people that's what an artist manager needs to be. I literally I was the glue that kind of connected every single person together. Because the
Mm.
two of my friends, I remember the first time I met him in college, a friend of mine called Uchi Momo. and he came to he came to my college, and I saw him, and I knew he was Nigerian. And I was like, Uchi, what you do? Oh, you're Nigerian. Like, come over, come and sit with the rest of us, and let's let's have a conversation. And there are some other Nigerian guys here, and I was laughing. I was like, was looking at me like, who is this guy? He thought I was funny. I don't know you, but I was that kind of a person. I'm like, I knew you was Nigerian. I knew you didn't know no one. So I'm like, you know what? Well, why don't you come and there are a bunch of people here exactly that I know that possibly you would be able to relate with, and now we're literally the best of friends. So that was an experience. That was an experience. Being able to grow up among those set of people, coming to just trying to find my way in the UK by myself. So my parents didn't come with me. My dad had a house, but obviously I think he trusted me enough. I used to have uncles and aunties that used to kind of check up on me, but I was literally living by myself.
So you were living in your parents' home in the UK by yourself?
Yeah, but they have so my dad had the property he rented out different floors. So there was an auntie that used to live there, but literally she was an auntie. I mean, so she was like my carer, but in a way, I mean, I didn't know her matter, but she was a carer and also like my aunt. So it was the first time, in a way, without my dad and my mom being in the same space that I was in.
Yeah.
You know,
that's always a tough one. A lot of Africans, but particularly Nigerians, send their kids abroad, and I know that can be quite tough and such a culture shock. But at the same time, some of the benefits from it has been, at least some of the people that I know who came without their parents, have been that quick maturity and growth where you have to figure things out for yourself. So you're talking about all this wonderful friends you have, and I think that's a good transition to start talking about how you build a relationship with JJ Skills or JJC Skills, or I just call him JJC generally, his stage name. He's been able to do so much for the industry, from the D'Banj to the Dun Jazzies that everybody celebrates, among so many. And a lot of the things that we're now saying, African, music is going global, etc. JJC was at the back end, really making a lot of things happen in the UK and hitting charts already back in the 90s, really late 90s. So let's talk about how that relationship, how you both linked up. How did you connect with him?
Yeah, funny thing is, I've actually known JJC since I was 16. Funny enough, what people don't realize. So the first time I actually had, I think when I turned 18, I actually had like a big party, and JJC actually came to DJ at my birthday party. So I invited everyone, like I had people from college that came through, I had people from around the way, like literally, I had over like 300-400 people come to my party. So funny enough, he DJ'd at my party. So I'd actually known him and known a lot of people that he hung around with, because he used to live in South London at the time. So I knew him from that time. Obviously, I got a chance to know him afterwards when he came out to be Big Brothers and put out the whole Big Brothers project and so on and so forth. But it wasn't until much later, after I'd left university, that a mutual friend of mine that he was working with, that used to run, that was a co-partner in the Big Brother label that he formed, now said, you know what, there's this artist that you need to listen to, and you need to, I'm like, I know, but I don't have time. Like, I'm on other things, because I used to manage a program of other people. And so for like 2 years, she was trying to get me to meet him. For 2 years. She literally was trying to get me to connect with JJC back again. I'm like, I'm too busy, I don't have time. And then one day she's like, listen, just go see him and just go have a conversation with him. And I'm like, you know what, no problem. Her name is Caroline, and I'm Caroline Onyama. And I'm like, I'll do it. So I went to his place in Clapham, in Southwest London, and he had an album that was coming out at the time. And I listened to the album, I was like, what?
Is that is that the 419 RTJ?
No.
Was that part of the album or something else?
No, I knew him around that time, but no, it was afterwards. It was when he put out it was just after that time. It was literally he had another album that he was about to put out called, I've got the title of it. But I heard the album and I was like, what? Like the production, the songwriting, the creativity. Then he also had Skills is a very visionary type individual. Like Skills has more talent in his one finger than a lot of people who I know in the industry, because he writes, he creates, and he already has the map planned out in his mind of how he wants it to be rolled out, the execution, the ideas behind the song. It already paints you a very vivid picture. And for me as a manager, that's the best kind of artist that you want to have, because what you are doing is you're helping bring that vision to light, literally. So somebody that can help you say, listen, this is what I want to do, and I can, because my background is international marketing and branding at university. That's what I studied. I'm always thinking of everything from a marketing branding perspective. So how it's not just you being an artist, it's you. Why would anybody want to buy into you as a brand or as a creative? Why would somebody not only spend their money to buy your CD? Why would they spend time listening to your music? Why would they want to buy a teacup that has your branding on it? And he kind of like, in a way, to me, it's like he had that kind of mapped out. So I'm like, no, you know what? From that minute on, the relationship was sealed. Literally, for me, just listening to the whole album, I'm like, I got you, no problem, let's go. Like literally, that boy took 2 years. So that's funny how, and he reminded me that, you know, I've known you since I was 16. I'm like, I know, I've seen you, Big Brothers. He had already accomplished. He had already had a couple of top 10 singles with Big Brother, the group. He was already on Scooby Doo movie, but he was still humble. He was still driven. So, and that was another thing for me as a manager, someone that know that he still wanted kind of help, and he wanted to kind of break into then the industry, or to the Nigerian industry. Although he was known, he hadn't been back home for like a while, literally. So that was one of the projects where, like, you know, let's roll that out. How are we going to roll that out in Nigeria, so on and so forth. And the relationship has been going on for then to now, literally. So it's, I think I have to give credit to my friend Caroline. If not because of her, possibly we never know. Me and you might never not even be having this conversation now.
And your life really changed too, because you both were, you know, as a team, able to accomplish so much. So that's a good transition to begin talking about marketing and really like roll our sleeves. I ain't got no sleeves on, but we're gonna roll our sleeves and talk about the entire spectrum of digital marketing. I'm fascinated with what you're doing, only because there are not many voices in the space that are really projecting, whereas on the West here, I mean, that's like a daily thing we talk about and deal with 24/7. So you said you studied international marketing, and of course you've helped build a successful brand that has segued into other things. And yes, JJC is ridiculous, like creatively intelligent. But let's start from the fundamentals first. For any artists watching this, and the managers and other industry professionals, whether the record labels or even lawyers, everyone watching it, where would you start first when you want to define, or how would you define branding? What is branding?
Branding is from two different perspectives. Is what you want to be known for, the perception people have about you, and the perception you want to have about yourself. There's the reality of what's, because again, you can meet an artist and the artist might think, oh, I want people to know me as this this artist that cares about women, female empowerment, that cares about you being able to, you can stand by yourself as a female and conquer, and you can literally go ahead and just be the best you can be. But if the reality is different, there's two different things. So you literally, when you come to mind as an artist or as a creative, what do people think about you? So if you say JJC, what will come to mind? Give me 5 words. Creative, TV, Big Brothers, leader of, you know, like you say, pioneer of Afrobeat. Like, what are those terms that people will come up? That is your brand. But there are ways that you can build what that brand is. The brand perception and the brand actuality are totally two different things. And that's where you have to consistently speak to your audience and understand your brand association and your brand have to tie in. Because you might say, oh, I fight for people's rights, for example. But if all the stuff that you do or you put out, nobody sees any of that content coming out, then there's a disconnect. Then if you're trying to know, let's say you're trying to get an endorsement to be an ambassador for the UN or for children's charity, for example. But if nothing that you put out, no songs that you put out, nothing that you put out across the social communicates that you're an advocate for children's health, or then there's a disconnect, literally. So it's your perception
the brand message
and your
not
reality.
on point.
Exactly. That means there's a brand alignment.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what you want. What do you want when people say your name or think about you? What do you want people to say? What do you want to be put in people's mind. And what I tell artists is, think of it in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years time. If me as Steve Spotlight, I want people to know me as the go-to when it comes to digital marketing for artists or creatives, or artist manager that empowers artists and helps artists put them in the spotlight. And everything I do has to be geared towards that. But if I don't communicate that, it's one thing you doing it, it's also another thing you communicating it as well. You know, because there's the communication of the brand as well, which is also equally as important. So the main thing is, what do I want to be known for? How do I want people to perceive me? Then do everything that you need to do to reverse engineer that all your actions, all your activities gears towards meeting that goal.
Okay. So if you're just joining us for the first time and you're viewing this, we are talking about the business of digital marketing. My guest today is Steve Osagie, a music executive and digital marketer out of specifically Nigeria, who has helped build brands, who's constantly working with different artists, and he shuffles between the UK and Nigeria. So far, so good. We've covered his career and background. We've also covered how he, got into the music business as a whole. We've covered how he managed one of the prolific songwriters, hit maker, and now filmmaker, JJC skills. And now we are delving into specifically digital marketing, but we first approached it on talking about branding. And now we're going to take it into really what is digital marketing and the different aspects of digital marketing. Now, whether you're an artist or not, a lot of what we're going to talk about here really applies to your business, your personal brand. So listen very carefully, pay attention. And if you have questions, feel free to leave your questions in the comment section, and I will most likely pull it out so that we can certainly ask on air live, and Steve can answer some of those questions. So Steve, what is digital marketing?
Digital marketing is just literally the means of how you communicate how you market who you are through the internet, online. Literally, that's what it is. And there's so many different platforms. When you talk about digital, it's so very extensive. I mean, you talk about email marketing, which falls under digital. We talk about social media, which falls under digital. So literally, is how do you market your music and your brand as a creative, and how do you utilize the digital space to market yourself and your music? Literally, that's what it is, and it's so very so literally that's what it is. And you can choose so many different aspects of digital to focus on, because if you went into every single thing, it can literally be a lot. So it's how do you utilize social media to grow your brand, to market yourself, market your music, to connect with the right audience? How do you literally put together an email campaign that can make sure you continue to connect with your audience on a consistent basis? How do you do influencer marketing, where you get influencers to talk about on your behalf for your brand and for you to kind of help you leverage their attention to bring attention to yourself? And that is literally what digital marketing is.
Okay. And for those watching, I'll add that digital marketing is a subset of marketing, right? The ability to market and promote your products or services to the world and get the attention in order for them to be able to pay attention and be interested in the product. Now, marketers generally always talk about the marketing funnel, as you know, just at large. So why don't you talk to us about the marketing funnel? And then what I want to do is take all the different aspects that you've just mentioned, that there's a broad spectrum of digital marketing, email marketing, social media, the list goes on. We're going to just cover each one specific to the areas of that your company provides. So you do social media campaign, influencer marketing. We're going to go through each area. So first of all, though, talk to us about just the marketing funnel for an artist hearing this. What is that all about?
Okay, so I'll break it down into three. I'll bring that to three different areas. Literally, so I'll try and say I like just simplifying stuff without overcomplicating it. There are three different things. I've called it my 3A digital marketing strategy. Literally, it's awareness, attention, and action. Literally, because you might want people to take a certain action, which is listening to your music, right? Or coming to your shows, or buying your merch. But if you don't have the right level of attention and awareness, you can never get them to take that action, literally. And you can have awareness. You could have created awareness from someone. So let's say you're scrolling through Instagram, for example. If I pop up in your feed as you're scrolling, you can literally come past my page. That means you are now aware of me, right? But if you don't have my attention, you will keep on going. You're not going to come into my page to see who I am, what I'm about, and possibly start following me and start engaging with me. So if I want to get your attention to either hire me as a consultant or listen to my music as an artist, I have to make sure I am able to first create enough awareness for myself through either, again, influencer campaign or running social media ads. But once I do that, and you're now aware of me, how do I make sure that I now have your attention? Because attention is the most important thing. If you don't have my attention, then you go 40,000 tracks are released every single day online. They said even just on Spotify alone. But out of those 40,000 tracks, how do you now make sure that you're able to grab the attention of the listener? So that's literally what digital marketing is. How do you create the right kind of awareness so that you can have the right kind of attention to make sure funnel that into the right kind of action? And that action is in different ways. You want to create an email, you want people to leave an email list. Because again, when it comes to digital marketing, email marketing, your value is also in your list. Your money is in your list. A lot of people don't know that. You as a digital marketing, you have a list of people that when your podcast comes out or when you're putting out any content, you have a list that you can send information out to straight away. And without even doing any additional marketing, you know that, because I have a 50,000 list, even if the open rate is just 1 or 10%, this amount of people are always going to open up my content and listen to it or read it, no matter what it is. So that's literally what you want to do. So again, you want to capture your audience by putting them through some kind of a list. As an artist, because a lot of the time when people have let me
actually stop you there and break it down just a little further. I like how you've taken the marketing funnel concept and broken it into three key big broad areas. And for those watching, basically you are right, Steve, right? Mostly marketers always talk about how do you ultimately get people to convert? And generally they go through a marketing funnel where you get that person getting into the funnel. Literally think about a funnel. And one of the first key stages of that is that awareness you're talking about. And then they go to that next stage of having an interest and then evaluating whether indeed they want to engage and have this relationship with you. And then if they do, then you get into the acquisition stage, whether you're getting their emails or things of that nature. And then ultimately the conversion, subscription or sales or whatever the case may be. And what Steve has done is just break it into three broad areas as he's just explained. And I like the simplification of that because then it makes it even easier to really understand what people are trying to, especially for artists that may not be, or just other industry creative professionals that might not be too aware of that. So having said that, let's apply it, right? And let's start first with one subset of what you do. Let's start with social media campaign. How would you get that awareness to ultimately get the conversion? And you can use either a hypothetical of an artist, or you can use the filmmaker, or you could use, a designer, anyone, a creative. How do we get to the point where we're actually ultimately getting conversion focused on social media as one arm of marketing, digital marketing?
One of the things that you want to do with social is, it comes to, again, content creation. What content are you creating consistently? What is your audience? Once you know the kind of brand you are, I'll use an example. There's a friend of mine that I have that he's a well-built individual. He's into fitness, and I told him that, okay, because you are also kind of like a health fanatic, so to speak. Why don't you incorporate that into part of your marketing and into your content creation? Because not only are you creating music and putting out to audiences, but you can also, every time you go to the gym, you can have your music playing in the background and put that as content. So you're now seeing.
Oh, what happened? Oh my God, he literally just disappeared. That must be his connection. Okay, so we are going to wait for Steve to come back. In the meantime, I see some of you watching. Tell me what specific region you're watching from. I'm always curious to know that. Please go ahead and send leave your comments and let me know where you're watching from. Steve will wait for you till you come on. You literally just disappeared. And then we were talking about social media marketing specifically, and that being a subset of the whole digital marketing. And there's so many ways to approach social media. One of the things that I would say, tips that you want to have, whether you're an artist or an influencer or anyone listening to this or watching this, one of the things you want to seriously consider is the key brand messaging across platforms, right? So first, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be online? And a lot of times there's such confusing image on the brand that most people are confused about who they want to be. So if you go to their Twitter, for example, they're confused about their identity. If you go to their LinkedIn, you're not sure who they are. If you go to their Instagram, there's just confusing messages. So the first thing first, you want to have consistency, brand consistency across all platforms. That includes the visuals that you're going to put out there, your images, things of that nature. You want to be very specific. That's the first thing when it comes to the social media of marketing that we're talking about. And then the second part that you want to make sure once you have that is have a central hub, right? So social media platforms or social networks are great, but algorithms change, which pretty much means how you essentially are seen through to others that you might want to focus on either your products or services or personal brand. So you've always want to have a central hub where you direct all of your followers or fans to, and that central hub is your website. And a lot of artists still till today do not have their central hubs. Not just artists. I see it across with filmmakers. I see it across with designers as well. Yes, you can use other third-party platforms. You can use social networks to sell your merchandise. You can use all these different other platforms, but you always have to have your central hub. So that's first starting with the social networking. And then on the social networking, what's very, very important is to ensure that you actually know the back end of that social. So first things first, have a fan page, right? With your fan page, you're able to not only build that brand consistency I was just talking about across all platforms, but critical is on the back end, that's where you're going to be looking and carefully ensuring that you monitor the data that's going to tell and help you make informed decisions about your brand. So informed decisions about what exactly and how exactly you want to achieve your ultimate campaign goal. And we'll get into that later. So if you are just joining us, let me just stop briefly to say we had a guest, Steve Osagie. We were getting into his background. We got into his career. We got into who he was managing and how that artist was able to be successful. One of the several artists he's managed. And then we got into how he got into digital marketing. And then we started to break down what digital marketing is all about. First, looking at the broad spectrum of marketing, and then looking at the subcategory of digital marketing. And with digital marketing, we started off with what is branding just generally to sort of easily get into the discussion. And then from that, we talked specifically about, okay, let's now get into digital marketing. What is that? And then we talked about the marketing funnel, something that most marketers are very familiar with, all marketers. If you're a marketer, you've got to know what marketing funnels are. We explained that, and then we were getting into applying the principles of how you really build your brand and ultimately get to the point of acquisition and conversion, which is what you always ultimately want. So in the process of talking specifically about using social networks for purposes of marketing and promotions, we lost him. So hopefully he'll come back and click through, and we are able to have him. In the meantime, if you want to join me for the conversation, please feel free to. If you have questions, leave it in the comment section. I'm happy to read it live and answer your questions. So going back to the first arm, and I'm going to keep covering it till he comes, and then he can give other additional points that he wants to. First things first, we were talking about using social networks, having a brand consistency across all platforms, ensuring that when you do have that brand consistency, you have your image, etc. And then on the back end, when we talk about social media, one of the things that I'm not saying with artists and other creative professionals is you don't, first of all, have a fan page. Make sure you have that, but it's not enough to have a fan page. You've got to go on that back end and see how your fans are engaging to determine the kind of content you're putting out there, the kind of campaigns you're going to be having, and how that turns into true acquisitions and results. Of course, we want to ultimately get all those people on our email list, but that's a different thing. Our guest is back here, so let me get him back in here so we can have the conversation. I do see some comments here. Oh, no. That's for Steve, from Steve. Okay, so let me add Steve to the stream, and let's continue with the social network part and have him add his thoughts to the conversation. All right, so Steve, welcome back. What happened? Okay, well, it's good to have you. Don't worry, anytime anyone I invite, I've got a back wealth of information myself, so I can swing anyway, and it doesn't faze me. So I'm glad to have you back. So let's get continuously on. Yeah, let's continue on the trajectory of social networks. And we were talking with informers about, you can't hear me is what you're saying, Steve? Okay, I'm going to take you out of the stream and continue the conversation. Once you can hear me, please feel free to let me know. But there's no reason why you should not hear me, because there's nothing I've done differently, and we're just adding you to the stream. So once you can hear me, just feel free to let me know through the private chat, and I'll pull you back in here to have the discussion. So just indicate you can hear me once you can over here, or you might have to log out and log back in. All right, folks. So we're talking about, I continued about brand consistency, looking at the back end to understand your data. And that data is going to inform specifically how you are charting your content and how you are putting your content out. So having said that, in terms of social networks, then let's talk about the content development and what you're putting on. Steve was starting to say that, like, if you have, let's say, for example, I do fashion, I do music, I do film, and I do law. For me, what's most important to me of all of that is the law that ties all the arts together. So most of my platforms, you will generally see me really focused on the law. That's what ignites me. That's what makes me excited. And I want to be known as the fashion entertainment lawyer on all platforms, wherever I show up, despite the fact, obviously, that I have other things. And I also want to be known as, obviously, the media head as well, given my background in media and degree in communications, having been in the industry for so long, interviewing all kinds of people from mainstream and non-mainstream. So across all platforms, you will consistently see me talking about those things, putting that content out there. So if you have a social network, so social network is the same, well, it's a broad category of talking about social media. But if you have your Facebook, your TikTok, your Twitter, etc., the content that you put on that have to consistently, as part of your digital marketing strategy, has to consistently be content that attracts the kind of people and attracts the kind of potential clients that you want. I have a platform that I talk about all related news specific to the Western arm of things, not just Africa. So it's just strictly all Western latest issues that intersect with the law on the Western side of things. And for that, I attract a clientele for purposes of my law firm that are focused on those issues and need an attorney to help them out. For the African music stuff, the content I put on are strictly focused on the continent. The guests that I have on are guests that are diverse, but they must have one thing in common, some sort of connection or relationship with the continent. That's like a must, right? Or if they don't have that connection, they have real good content that's valuable to my audience specifically. So that's the social network side. Let me also now talk about email marketing and the importance of email. You know, email marketing has been around for so long, but what's interesting is that it's now gaining a lot of momentum and continues to gain it. In fact, I was just recently, as part of a group talking on Clubhouse, actually talking about getting on stage, talking about and being part of moderating on content and how we build content. It's so interesting to see the language of influence and marketing and all these other things when over 14 years or about 14 years ago when I started online. A lot of those things were already happening. So it's so interesting to see how it's really just built momentum now, and everybody's into email marketing, influencer marketing, content development, all this other things that's been going on for a long, long time. I think a post-COVID world has sort of heightened that. So let's talk about email marketing and what that exactly means. With email marketing, it goes back to what I was saying, that it's super important to have a central hub. Your central hub is where everything happens. Your central hub is your house. AfricanMusicLaw.com is my central hub. If anything happens on any social network, which sometimes it does happen, glitches, you can't get into the account, or for whatever reason, you lose all your followership and all of a sudden you've built millions of people or hundreds and thousands, and maybe Facebook or any of the other platforms decide that you violated their rules of engagement and they decide they're going to block you out. No problem. Guess what? You absolutely have your email, and you have an audience you've built, and that audience is now unequivocally ready to receive you, and you've been building relationships over time. That's the power of email marketing. People don't change their emails. Friends I've had for over 20 years, I'm going to add Osagie to the stream as I complete the start. Friends I've had for over 20 years continue to keep their emails. Professional contacts, everyone, their personal emails stay the same, right? So you know that if they sign up and subscribe, you probably can market your product to them from now till eternity. So you always want to have your email marketing. Our guest is here. Let me actually have him jump on additional points on the social network, and then we'll get into email marketing. Steve, I'm glad that your technology has finally worked.
It's ironic we're talking about digital and again,
marketing, right?
Yeah, but again, these are things that can happen. But again, it's
absolutely.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
No wahala. So let's go. No problem for those who are wondering what wahala is. Let's go into social networking. I've sort of given an overview of how that works as an arm for purposes of using social media to brand and promote your products, and how you truly build brand equity that way to attract your potential customer into that marketing funnel pipeline and ultimately convert. So let's sort of get additional thoughts from you before we go into the email marketing side of things.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, again, thank you so very much. So sorry for the
no problem.
When it comes to social media, it gives you the opportunity that, again, there are no more gatekeepers when it comes to how you promote yourself, how you promote your music, to be able to engage with your potential following, your potential audience. It's not something as simple as you running a Facebook ad, targeting, let's say you think you sound like Wizkid, or you think you sound like Burna. You can target Burna's fans literally by you putting your content directly in front of them. Where else normally, and you can literally see how much you're spending and what that conversion gets you. So a lot of times when it came to promotion or marketing, we used to do a very shotgun approach. You shoot stuff in the air and hopefully it catches a bird. But literally right now, you can be very, very targeted in regards to, okay, you know what, I'm going to target people in Lagos between the age of 21 to 35 that live in VI, because I think, they would possibly be fans of my music based on the kind of music that I make, and run a $50 ad for like over a week and see who are the people that, first of all, click on your ad, who are the people that end up becoming fans of your ad, how many people actually, if you had an email list, convert to staying with you as an audience. And you can know that, okay, I spent £50, I had 10,000 listeners. That literally tells you, okay, if I spend £50 and I have 10,000 listeners, if I want to get to 1 million, you just have to multiply it. And I'll give that example to another client of mine that was trying to run a YouTube campaign. And I was like, listen, they had a song that had been out for the last 4 months, and it hadn't literally, they had maybe like 3,000 views. I'm like, but you're not putting your content in front of anyone. First of all, you're not a Wizkid, you're not a Davido. Even if you were, a year or 2 years ago, Mr. Easy said how much he has spent on a video campaign. Close to over something thousand pounds on YouTube ads, but he made back over 100. So I'm like, why don't you put a budget together? And again, You don't have to spend 1,000. You don't have to spend 5,000. If it's 100 that you have, if it's 10 pounds you have, no problem. Put 10 pounds forward and see what 10 pounds gets you. So I told the person, I projected over like 2 weeks, put down like 100 pounds. And for 100 pounds campaign, a video that had only 3K views actually had about 70,000 views at the end of 2 weeks. Because what I did with the campaign was, because I knew they sounded similar to like a Mr. Easy, every single time somebody went to Mr. Easy's channel, they saw their video pop up first. They saw their video pop up when they went to a Burna Boy's Burna Boy channel. So literally, exactly. So what I'm doing now is I'm now making you aware of who this artist is. That is the first job. That's the first word that I said. But for you to now keep their attention, I had to now make sure that the creative that was being promoted or advertised was enough to grip the audience in that 30 seconds to hopefully make them think, oh, that's interesting. Let me go and see the rest of the track, or let me go and listen to the audio. And literally, he was able to have 70,000 for just £100 budget. Where else would you be able to have that kind of conversion?
How much? What was his budget?
£100.
£100. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
But again, because I know my targeting. Again, it's all about targeting and knowing the audience that you're trying to reach. Because another mistake a lot of people do is when they run ads, they want to target everyone, everywhere. But what I tell artists as well is everyone is no one. Everywhere is nowhere. Like literally, you have to be very laser targeted in regards to your targeting and your marketing and your ads, because you're always going to have an initial core audience, but that initial core audience, you want them to become advocates for your brand. You want them to become your spokespeople for your brand. That once you're able to reach those individuals, they'll go ahead and speak to their 100 or 1,000 friends, and all of a sudden you're going to be able to grow from there. So that's just literally one way in being able to utilize social media to target your potential audience and see the traction. And again, if you consistently, but if that audience comes into your funnel, but now you've not brought them into your funnel, then become aware of you having their attention, but you now have to make sure you nurture that relationship. And that's the next thing with social that a lot of artists don't do. And that is why, again, I put out a calendar, because nurturing and engaging is extremely, extremely important.
Okay, so hold that thought so that we can just unpack it as we go along. So I think an important thing to underscore is the contrast between traditional media and social. And one of the reasons I want to underscore it is because of how you said the ability to have that back-end information that typically you would not, to really completely target your audience. So for those watching traditional media, some people are still using it. So your newspapers, even your TV, you're not going to, and they're not going to willingly give you the stats, the data on who their target audience was, who they specifically were able to get to look at your ad, and what that conversion ultimately was. I'll even use traditional media on the law firm side, where I've used way in the past when that was in thing to do, right? So you take a big whole full page ad in your yellow pages or newspapers, right? And all you end up getting is a bunch of calls that are looking for legal representation, but they're not relevant to your practice. And most of them are crummy calls. And sometimes the people that are calling you have not, I would get people just call me and say, oh, I just thought you were a very good looking attorney, and I just called to tell you that. Like that, I'm trying to make business here. Or people will call and it just wasn't relevant to, despite the listing of what I'm telling you, the services I offered, right? However, with online, it's so different, because literally, as Steve was saying, you can specifically target, I want a particular demographic with a particular psychographical situation going on, their interests, the things they're focused on, and it can help you really get results. And then the key focus then is your messaging and how you create the specific message that will get their attention. And he said, on the YouTube end, it had to be so, attention grabbing that you had no choice but to click through. That acquisition is the click through that ultimately gets to their website for potential conversion, right? Yeah. So having said that, let's move to that next. And this applies to whether you're an artist or any creative, anything, business, it doesn't matter. Let's move to the other part of email marketing. I want to sort of touch on that. tell us a little bit more about how you approach email marketing and suggest others should for artists and people who might be interested down the line in wanting to work with you.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to email marketing, I think that's a very ignored for a lot of artists or creatives. You've always heard people like Kevin Hart, they would tell you, I became who I am because of the list that I had. When I was going from show to show, I was collecting lists and database from people. When I was putting stuff online, I knew people that were in different states. So before I came to a state, I was sending out information, either text or like an email blast to say, I'm coming to your show. People will turn up because your value is in your list. Because if you develop the right kind of relationship and you consistently have the right kind of email marketing strategy, you are able to convert and communicate consistently and with your audience. And also, you can have if you have an email list of 50,000 listeners that are into music, you can now leverage that list and go to a brand and say, listen, I have 50,000 people within this age group. They live in this state. And, I see that you're running a campaign in Lagos for young people trying to sign on to GT Bank, for example. But I have a list that shows my list contains about 50,000 or 20,000 people that live in Lagos that also of this age, and I'm sure they would love to use your service. I'm about to put out a project. I can send out your pretty much either like a promotional campaign that you're putting out, but I'm going to charge you a certain amount for it. You know what I mean? So as you do events, what you want to do is you want to always make sure that people come through and leave their name. But again, for people to leave their name and their information, you have to give them something of value. Either, for example, behind the scenes for something that you're doing, a new unreleased track that not everybody has access to, you're just going to give your audience a loan first, because to them, their name and their email is something of value. So if you value it, then you have to be willing to give them something. But you also have to nurture that email list, because as quickly as they give you their email address, as quickly as they can block you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you spam them and you don't give them value, absolutely.
Exactly. And a couple of sites, for example, and it doesn't matter how long you want to. When I'm asked when should I start trying to create a list, I'm like, today, not yesterday or tomorrow, but today, as little as today. And a couple of sites that you have that would allow you, ConvertKit is one. They'll allow you to have a list of over 1,000 people for free before they start charging you any additional fee. And a bunch of other sites as well that allow you to do that. So it's something as simple as, you know what, I'm doing a listening. I'm in Lagos. I'm doing a listening party for some few special fans, but for you to have access to be invited for this listening, drop your email and drop your telephone number. So you have to think of creative ways on how you can get their email list and their telephone number, but also you have to also be very respectful, because in the UK there are certain policies now that are in place where you have to let people know what you're doing with that list, how you're going to be marketing to them with that list, and so on and so forth. Depending on the territory that you're in, but you literally want to give them something of value in promise of them giving you access to them, and you have such a profound way of being able to really have a deeper level of connection with your audience through an email list. And think of it like, I used to work in McDonald's when I was a kid, and they said every customer, the way you look at every client or every customer is the lifetime value of that email list. Don't look at it as for my next single. If somebody that's 18, 19, or 21 now comes on your list, that person may end up being on your list till they're 35 years old. So how many clicks of your song would they have? How many times might they possibly come to your concerts? How many times would they possibly redirect their own fans or their own family or their own friends to your music or to your brand? There's a lifetime value of that list. You know what I mean? And most big companies normally are able to tell you, lifetime value of this list for one person is about 100 pounds or 1,000 pounds. So start to nurture your list, but first of all, just start collecting the list, first of all, by giving them something of value. Access to your backend, access to a new unreleased track, access to behind the scenes of your music video, something of value, and just start to build on that. Every time you go to an event or to a show, tell people, visit my website. I've got something special for people that are going to, drop their email list or drop their telephone number, and give them access to your back door, behind the scenes of your life. But the only people that can have access to that are people that give you their email or their telephone number. That's one way to just build a list on a very simplistic way, as well as there are a lot of websites that allow you to do that for £1,000, for 1,000 names for free without you paying everything. Obviously, the more you have, the more you can pay. But there's extreme value in that. It's not only for you, but also being able to get a lot of brand association, brand collaboration based on the value of your list.
Yeah, and for those watching, basically what in the marketing world it's referred to as the lead magnet. The lead magnet basically is what you're taking to pull that magnet into the attraction. And if you're just a general content provider as well, not just only music, for example, because we cover the intersection of music, film, music, fashion, music, and everything else. One of the things to also remember, if you are a part of that, is that your lead magnet can be all the key things that Steve said, which are very important, especially on the artist level. But you can also have something as simple as a PDF. How many times have you visited websites that have hey, download my PDF for free on how to make money and become successful like me, or make 7-digit figure? That's all that lead magnet that he's talking about. They have to create of that value in that back end. There's a comment here from Idiambolo Lokoto, who I happen to know from my other platform, Lady Bro Magazine, and she says this is awesome. I'm glad. She's a business owner as well. She's in the creative industry. Edie, I'm glad that you are finding value in it. Thanks for watching and listening as well. All right, so let's now talk about the email marketing, right? So you have the email going, you have the list going. And you talk about nurturing as well, but how do you get people on that email list to actually purchase your products and services, and where it's not like, okay, they're just receiving all these emails?
Yeah, I mean, again, the nurturing is a very important part. People have to understand that it takes about 6 to 10 touches now before you're able to convert someone. So again, the first time you get somebody's name on the list is not for you to be like, oh, by the way, could you purchase, buy my product or buy my merch? Or if they don't know you, why should they buy your merch? Unless you're Wizkid or Davido or Tiwa, then, So you have to pretty much, what of value can you give them that can also help them think, you know what, I want to support him, for example, where you're like, you know what, even something as simple as you want to put out a new track, but you are going to allow your fans to help you choose what the title of that track is, and people can donate towards you helping you choose that track, and you're going to name everybody on your email list as part contributor on your track, for example. You know what I mean? So you have to really, really be creative on how you want them to what you're trying to sell to them, because when it comes to getting them to buy, buying is not always getting them to really purchase something from your site. Literally, just even tag someone or redirect, send this email to another friend that you think would also like me as an artist or me as a creative. But one of the best way, obviously, is you can sell definitely your own music from your site as well as your merch. Those are the two typical things that you can sell, besides the streaming, which you can actually put a higher value on. And although we know streaming and purchasing of music now, you can stream it for free. But if you want to sell a physical copy of it, you have to give an added value to that content. Because why would I want to buy? I know a lot of people do this, and why would I want to buy an album if I know I can just go stream it on Spotify? So what I'll tell artists is, and an email campaign would be the best way to do that. What is the added value you can give them for that? For purchasing that album or that single? It could be a handwritten signature of you signing it and sending it to them. You know what I mean? Where you're sending a personal note to your audience or to your fans. So if something else that they think they can get someone for free, then why would they pay for it? But if you want to nurture your audience enough, and you're saying, listen, you guys, I'm trying to put out an album. I need you guys to support me. Yes, a Patreon account. I literally need you guys to. And you've heard different situations where artists' albums have been funded by their fans. Like, they've raised over $50,000 to $100,000 to be able to make a new album. But again, if the artists believe that they're part of you, again, you're trying to build a community. If you're trying to build a community with your fans and you're saying, listen, everybody that contributes towards my album, you guys will get a shout out in the back sleeve when I put in contributions to this album, your name will be listed there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like them having some kind of ownership, in that content.
In that content. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me also add some other aspects and tips of nurturing. I know that consistency you talk about for my platform, particularly the African Music Law, that consistency is about the relationship, right? So a newsletter goes out almost every week for years now, right? And it's not constantly pitching. In fact, there's not much of a ask.
Yeah.
It's more of a give. And then when you're ready for that ask, then you do the ask, and there's more conversion in that sense because you're giving that value. As was said, in addition, there's so many other ways that I've seen artists that I'm subscribed to and other creatives whose newsletters I'm subscribed to, how they do it. They send, they're constantly telling you what's happening with their shows, the behind the scenes. They're telling you their infrastructure of their business and how they're building it out. I've seen labels do that. They're giving you announcements of their key persons in their business. They're also having those persons create content to connect with you as well. They themselves, the artist, Mr. Easy, does it pretty good also with his newsletter, amongst so many others that really ensure that the experience you have is very enriching, where you're like, okay, I want to stay subscribed. And if they have a product, okay, maybe I should check that product out and purchase it as well. So I completely agree with that nurturing aspect that you're talking about. So I'm going to start preparing to wrap it up. And I want to go two directions. Number one, talk about influencer marketing, and then talk about the role of video production and promotion, because video is everything. I mean, we're doing nice. Go ahead.
Just a quick one.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You were saying, Steve?
Like an email marketing campaign. Yeah, when you're doing like an email marketing campaign, it doesn't always have to be about just your music. Again, like I use the example of, if I'm an advocate for women's health or children's, you can give an information about that specific thing that you want to be known for. So are you sending out, you can send out newsletters on how to, maybe there's a petition you want people to sign for a case that's happening, or, you're trying to raise funds to kind of build an orphanage for children in a setting. So you can do other things outside of just your music. So it's not just about you, but it's also about what you stand for. And that's a way to help nurture people to understand that, oh, his brand also stands for A, B, and C. It stands for women. It stands for children cruelty. It stands for, health and wellness. So it can be other things also outside of your music, but it's still tied into your brand. So again, people say, how many times am I going to just speak about me, myself, and I about my music? But what else are you affiliated to? What else are you passionate about? So use that as a medium to engage and communicate with your fans.
Absolutely. That's a plethora. And like I said, I want to go that other two direction. I want to end it on that 390-day calendar that you've created, because that's a big thing for a lot of people, not knowing what kind of content and how to create that content. So influencer marketing is all the buzz. I've dealt with influencer marketing as a micro influencer as well, and worked with so many brands. But I've also dealt with it in my capacity as a lawyer, drafting contracts, negotiating deals for influencer marketers as well, or brands that are interested in trying to get on influencer marketers. So for you, on the digital marketing end, talk a little bit about influencer marketing and how its important role so far so good in the industry and even outside of, for all online content creators.
Yeah, influencer marketing brings a lot of value. So what an influencer is someone that has an influence within the same industry, and you're able to leverage the attention and the awareness that they have to bring attention onto yourself as a creative or as an artist. So that's one thing. But so, for example, you have someone like Etunde Ednot now that has, over 1 million something followers, and he would tell you, if you want to leverage his attention and the awareness he has, okay, I would love you to promote my music on your platform so that all the attention that you have can hopefully be diverted to me, or some of those audience kind of come my way. But you have to be careful when it comes to influencer marketing. It's extremely beneficial, because instead of reaching out to 1 million people, why don't you just reach out to 1,000 people that are connected to 1,000 people each? You know what I mean? So you're literally working smartly, literally. And that is what influencer marketing is: utilizing somebody else's influence and attention to bring the attention and awareness onto who you are. but you have to be careful in regards to understanding that influencer, because not every your influence might be totally different from the audience that the artist is trying to meet. My influence is different from your influence because I'm an influencer, but our two target audience might be totally misaligned. I might have 100,000 followers, but I might have extremely low engagement. You've heard where people have 100,000 followers, but are not able to sell 100 t-shirts, because their brand are misaligned, because again, you also have to think, again, for artists, I understand you always work with a very limited budget. If you have £100, for example, to spend, and an influencer is telling you, give me £100, you have to think smartly that if I give that influencer £100 and they put it on their Instagram page, for example, what is the chance? And I'm trying to grow my YouTube page or my YouTube video. What is the potential of me being able to direct, 10,000 people to also go ahead and watch my video, compared to if I run a YouTube ad campaign, literally. So you literally want to ask the influencer to send you some analytics so that you see what their engagement is like, and you also observe their audience to see what kind of audience also come to that person's page, and you also ask them a very simple question: have you also promoted any artists like me? Have you also promoted any other creatives like myself? What kind of results have you gotten? Can they share those results with you? Because very, very easily, although we talk about everything can be like a new shiny object, which influencer marketing can be, and you put money into it, but your own expectation of the result is totally misaligned, and all of a sudden you get angry with the influencer that, but I didn't get my YouTube or my Spotify streams did not go up to 1,000 people. Because when it comes to influencer marketing, two things happen. You're doing that for one, brand awareness, and another for conversion. There are two different roles that you're playing there. One for brand awareness. Brand awareness does not always convert straight away. It just means a lot more people are now aware of you. And they can come onto your channel, see what you're about, and just see, it's like a dating phase. See if they want to really engage with you a lot deeper. But conversion is where you really want somebody to, like, influencer, direct people to go ahead and stream this song, or go ahead and come to my YouTube page, or I'm running a challenge. I want people to go ahead and create content for my challenge. So I ran an influencer campaign for an artist called Edamus, and this is a smart way to do it. What you want to do is, Edamus, he did a track with Faz the Bad Guy, and it was from Grafton Records. They have a distribution listing with Universal, and the head came to me and said he wanted to run an influencer campaign. And I had to come up with the right kind of strategy. And I said, instead of trying to target everyone, why don't we target about 10 to 20 influencers that we know have good engagement, but also tied into, they like African music, they like Afrobeats, they get pretty good engagement, and they're also creatives enough. And based on the campaign that we ran, we identified a couple of research based on the following that they had, and looking at the results that they're able to have, we executed it with this about 20 influencers, and as of now, so they did a video each. As of now, we've created over 1,500 videos have been recreated for that song, for using that campaign, and close to over 1 million hits has actually been had on that specific content. But we have to do a lot of research on the back end, making sure that the influencers that we're getting was tied into the campaign that we're about to run, and could get us the result that we really wanted. So that's the thing about influencer. Some could be hit and miss, but again, you're doing it for trying to brand awareness and conversion, and also you also want to make sure that your brands are aligned. And you also have to be careful if you're someone that stands for example, there's someone that stands for female empowerment, but you go and use a brand influencer that has said some things that might not go well with your potential audience, where they're saying their ideologies or their own brand is not aligned with that, and they put out, then you are totally going to cut off a certain audience. That's like, hold on, why are you aligning yourself with this specific influencer when I know they don't stand for respecting women? Every other post they put out talks about degrading women, or straight away you're going to lose audiences. So you really have to really deep dive into who that brand is, who that influencer is. Are they able to get you the result that you want? And be very specific on what you want to see happen. If you're trying to sell merch.
So hold on a sec there. Let me just jump in a little bit on and break down a few things. So you have so much knowledge and you share a lot of it. So we have to unpack a lot of it. So I think one of the things I want to say about that is whether you are approaching traditional media or you're approaching digital media or you're approaching an influencer, the key thing is the same in terms of research and know their target audience, which is what Osagie is saying. Who are they? Who's their audience? Who do they create content for? Who are the people that are listening or reading or subscribing? And understanding that audience, then you can determine whether, in fact, the campaign you want to run on their platforms or the advertising dollars you want to pay will truly have a true return on investment. And the way you know that is obviously you ask them the information and questions, but you've already seen on that front end what they've done in the past and their specific target audience as well. So you won't, for example, go to a fashion journalist to talk about music when they exclusively only do fashion. You want to pitch them on your music if they are a music journalist. Otherwise, it's a hit and miss. And some fashion journalists or influencers or others are not as candid to say, well, that's not actually my audience. My audience really focuses on beauty products and everything relating to beauty. They might still take that money from you and promise that they can get results. But the end result is just the fact that, you might have a lot of views, for example, but no true conversion, or you might not even have anyone hit through. So, for example, you can go to a Linda Osagie, which is a blog that's really well known. And she gets a lot of attention. She does mostly gossiping or gossip blog. And, you can put your music. And I used to see artists do a lot of that, send their music over. And that's all good and dandy. But that audience wants that salacious gossip stuff. They're not necessarily interested in your music, even if they all hit, on her particular page of your music and it has like 1 million views. But if you go to a more specific music blog, right, a more targeted music blog, for example, then when you have that music blog and you're marketing your music on that particular platform, paying for ads for your music, for banner ads or whatever, they're more likely to click through, and you actually have conversions as well. And I think that's a distinction you're really trying to emphasize and underscore, and it's well noted. All right, let's wrap it up with the final aspect I want to talk about: video and production. You talk about part of that as your digital marketing services that you do, video and production. And video, as we know, is everything now, right? It's well, audio is also very good. I'm an audio person. I love audio, although I do video as well. I've always been in front of the camera for so long. But in terms of, for me, I've had the past 8.5 years experience as a sound engineer. So I want a very immersive experience, which is why I've always done the podcast. But last year, introduced the video, the live stream that we're watching. And what's interesting is people really, really love the live stream as well, which further emphasizes just across board. It's not even enough to put only audio content now or text content on visual. People now want to see the audio visual part. So can you talk a little bit about that video and production part of it and marketing that, Steve? You're muted, Steve. If you could unmute yourself. Okay, there you go. Oh, you're muted back again.
What? Right. In today's marketplace, you can't get away from video. Yeah, you can't get away from video. So even you as an artist or as a creative, people want to see you. People want to hear you. People want to stay connected to you. So again, video comes in two forms. So you have your live video, like what we're doing right now, and you have your pre-recorded video that you pretty much can, create how you want it to be, and you kind of put it out consistently. You want to be able to use both, because something as simple as you going on Instagram and doing an IG live with your audience, and I advise artists to do this all the time, once a week, even if it's what has been going on with you for like 30 minutes, engage with your audience. So, come up with a theme for this week. Again, if you're an Arsenal fan, talk about how Arsenal did that week online, engage with that audience. You want to definitely be able to show things as simple as creating behind the scenes when you are in the studio writing, somebody just filming you for like a minute or 2 minutes, what that process was like when you were discussing with the producer, behind the scenes for your music video. So that, again, all those are video content. But video, when it comes for artists, doesn't only entail just you being in the shot. For example, if you're trying to create, like, let's say a visual for like a track, for example, you have like 4 different ways you can create visuals for like a music. You have your lyric video that still counts as video in itself. You have your live video while it's happening. That you obviously put out consistent content. You have visualizers that obviously we've done that for a couple of clients. Again, in today's market for COVID, where people cannot really come out and shoot, or people are still a bit hesitant in shooting big full production. Again, you also want to try and limit. It helps you limit whatever your spend is. But again, people are able to put an image, be able to put a picture to whatever, to your brand, to your music, and that tells so much more. Even when you're running ads, for example, the cover of your music, and you're running an ad to a visual, like let's say a music video you're done on Visualizer, you're going to get so much more conversion because people just want to see motion. People want to see the video. So that I think that you can literally do and try to create as much visual content as you can with your audience. Again, try to go live. Each of the platforms, each of the social platforms that you want gives you the opportunity to go live. And they did that specifically because when you go live with someone, you create or have a deeper level of connection. And the social platform actually did it as such as well. So if me and you are doing a live on IG and people come onto the live and they stayed, or even if they stayed or they left, Instagram would think that, oh, this person came on to me. So when they hopefully put out content, we're going to put the content in front of those individuals that came onto that live. So it's a deeper level of connection. And it's one thing me creating content and using the post event of what I've created, but it's a different thing when you are talking. Fans are asking you questions, you're relating back, you're going back and forth. There's just a deeper level of engagement and connection that you have. There's one artist that does that very well. Someone like Funke Akindele does that extremely well. Fouls the bad guy, THE Dax. He did something this week that I thought was awesome. I mean, he has millions and millions of streams. He said for everyone that retweets his Instagram story of a track that just came out, he's going to repost it on his IG stories. And he has over a couple million followers. So already he's telling you that, listen, go and do this action and I would retweet it. That means you're now helping him create more attention, but for you to get a retweet for him is a big deal. Or a big deal, yeah. Post from him is a big deal. So it's finding a way, exactly, so that you definitely want to be able to utilize video as much as you can, from pre-recorded video to live video to just, animation, but people love visuals. And that's why every single social platform allows you to create video. This phone that we're using, I'm using my phone, has HD quality. You can literally, people have shot music videos on their phone. Literally, so that how creative do you want to be with this? You're not limited. You don't need a 5D. You don't need the black magic. Especially if you are limited by phones. Use your phone. Engage, connect. It creates a deeper level of connection with your audience. And if you nurture this, then the world is your oyster. If you can use this phone, this device, then you don't literally have to spend nothing. Just point and shoot.
Several things to add to that. I've used my.
And I'll
go ahead.
I would end on this note. Instead of don't think of it as creating content. Think of it as documenting your process. Literally.
Yeah, well, I say storytelling. I love telling stories, and even before I pick up my camera to create a story,
I'll just say don't think of it as creating content to create on your time. I think there's a lag time. I don't know why.
Yeah, you're breaking up, but let me just add this. I personally say it's more about storytelling. So I have done so many amazing storytelling on my camera, which is nice that you emphasize that, because these days, if you're on a budget or can't even afford it, you could just pick up your phone and literally record and do so many things. I've recorded weddings. I've recorded like full edited, really nicely done. I've done all kinds of events, naming ceremony,
Yeah, exactly.
all kinds, funerals, unfortunately, you know, past a number of things, like quality from beginning to the end. And also one thing I always emphasize is the experience. The experience is
Yeah,
so important for me, even for this live experience. I know there's so many people that are doing live, but I want, when my audience shows up, to like my guests to feel like they're going through an experience. The back end, I treat it as if I'm actually at a live event that I would be producing or whatever. So the back end, staying in the green room, the music, you know, before it even starts the broadcast, it tells you it's coming. The beats, everything, right? Just really process, because I want
yeah,
the experience. How I show up, I could be casual about it, but beyond the fact that I love fashion, I want to look good and ensure that everything just, you know, comes out for the experience. So often you'll see talent sometimes get on, and yes, it's great if you have an audience that doesn't really care no matter what, but sometimes you need to put just a little bit more work. If you're going to get on
yeah,
IG live or anything of that nature, just, you know, show up a little more interested in your audience. That's number one. Number
yes,
two, have something to say. You use Files the Bad Guy. I love his cooking show, for example. He gets on and he has such a fun time, and it's such a blast with everyone, where he's like cooking and then welcoming fans to come and talk with him. It is so much fun. You're flipped a funny way, Osagie. You want to flip, you flip sort of like upside
can you see
down.
me?
You want to flip, yeah, but can you flip where we can actually see you? Um, uh, yeah, if you just rotate right a little bit or to my right, we should be able to see you where you're more of uh, can we even hear you, Osagie? Wow, we've had a lot of technology problems for talking digital marketing today. That's so funny. I'm gonna take you out of the stream because it seems like you are frozen. But anyway, some really, really good messages that you Osagie has been sharing, and he's frozen. That's so interesting, because I wanted him to come in and talk about the 390-day calendar he's created. I think that's so interesting. Okay, so all right. So we've gone through this interesting journey. If you're joining us, and I'm pretty much getting ready to wrap it up. So I'm going to give you a synopsis of everything we've talked about, and then see if Osagie can join us, because he is literally, yeah, he's even officially just disappeared. But I'm going to give you a synopsis of everything we've talked about. Hopefully we'll get him then, and then we'll close this out. So we started this, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk about digital marketing for everyone watching is because that conversation is not happening too much on the African side of things, particularly across creative industries. So fashion, film, and music. There's a lot of, you know, Africa breaking in, Africa connecting, Africa's creative industries, interacting with the West and the excitement around it. But no one, and then of course there's the excitement about distribution, but no one's really paying as much attention, beyond a handful, on what really matters, right? The data analytics, the information that helps drive informed business decisions. There are a few companies I'm seeing that are focusing on that, but the vast majority are not having that conversation. It's a very important conversation. It's how we also help with evaluation of our intellectual property. It's how we know to make business decisions that can really help an artist go from the beginning to become, on a grassroots level, to become superstar. So this is super important information. And the person I had on today to help engage in that with me is Steve Osagie. I personally not only know that, but I also teach the courses, several courses at the Academy of Arts University focused on this area. So I thought it was important to also bring it on, but particularly hear from an African voice. That is one of the few voices that I see actually focused on this. For whatever reason, we decide to talk about digital marketing today. And that's when Steve Osagie is having all kinds of problems with his technology. Go figure. I like so many disconnections. So hopefully get on. So where have we gone? Where are we trying to go? First place we started was his background. And then we talked about from his background. We talked about how he broke into specifically marketing after managing one of the major artists in Nigeria, who's now turned a filmmaker, a very successful one at that as well. And then we, got into digital marketing. The first place we started was I wanted you all to just have a clear overview of branding. What does it mean to have a brand? And just a little nice conversation on branding, nothing too major. But critical was to start talking about the marketing funnel. And with the marketing funnel and digital marketing as a recap, the whole idea is when you have a customer that's approaching, or if it's not a customer, a fan, it doesn't matter, whoever your target audience is, which is generally your fan base, your customer, you or your client, if you're a more service-oriented profession, you want to ultimately get them through that marketing funnel. And in terms of marketing funnel, think literally of a funnel. And the wider gap of the funnel, your goal is to get them into that funnel to specifically be aware of your product. That awareness stage is the first part of that trajectory they're going to go down before they ultimately get to you. And then the second part of they're aware of your product, then you want to have them have an interest in that product. What exactly are you trying to, what exactly is this all about? You want them to be engaged sufficiently to be asking questions about it. The next step, or one of the important things around that marketing funnel, is that you want to also then, if once they're aware and they have an interest, certainly they're going to be having a personal evaluation on what's going on. So the evaluation process, okay, I like this product. She's inviting me to come into her retail shop, for example, to shop for clothing. The designs look really nice. I've walked in, I've looked at the displays, everything looks good. I see a red dress that's really, really interesting. Let me evaluate. I pick it up. Let me evaluate if I want to actually buy it, how it's going to look on me, how it's going to fit, what event I'm going to wear it to. And then, of course, the next stage after that evaluation is going into that acquisition. Acquisition on the digital end translates to more of the ability to have them click through, for example, click through from social media to your website, click through to be able to purchase whatever it is you're trying to sell them. So that acquisition comes in. It could also sometimes be, and many times can be, them subscribing to an email. But really, acquisition is more that click through to get to you, to get to the central place you're guiding them towards. And then ultimately the conversion, which is the subscription or the sale. Now, through it all, one of the things we talked about with the awareness, the very first prong, is to be focused on that lead magnet, right? That information, that thing that when they come to when you have the acquisition and they come on your website, for example, you're trying to get their email. You're trying to get that ability to have a more connected, engaged, long-term relationship with them. And you could do that through a lead magnet. And that lead magnet could be your email, could be your behind-the-scenes video, what have you. And then you get into the ultimate sale or subscription. And then if you go through all that stuff, we talked about email marketing. So let's say they are now subscribed. What does email marketing do? What does video production do? What does influencer marketing do? Like all those different methodologies that you could use to market and promote your products. We could go more and more into things, but Steve Osage's technology will not let us hear a word. So it is what it is. So we'll keep it short and sweet on that end. And I want to end with his particular 390-day calendar. He's available now. Hopefully we can finish this without more technology interruption. So let's see. Steve, welcome.
Yes, hi. So it's raining. It's raining here. It's been raining all day. So
yeah,
it's
but
affecting the internet.
Are you in Nigeria or the UK?
I'm in the UK, but I live in Kent. And at times Kent can be a bit funny. And it's been raining here. So I think
you know what? That's one thing I noticed when I travel to Europe, and one thing I prefer the US. When I travel to Europe, it's great to admire all the traditional, structures, and take all those photos and all that. But a lot of those buildings, the way they were built and the technologies around it, sometimes get in the way. So I totally hear you. All right, so because we've had some technology glitches today.
But again, consistency, no matter what, you see, plugging through. That's
on a day that we're talking digital marketing and all the technology, which we should emphasize. That means ensure your technology is consistent. You know, when the whole COVID thing happened last year in March, I knew I was going to go live stream. I knew, because, you know, being in front of the camera is no big deal at all. But the area that I live, unfortunately, at the time, did not have high speed, and I didn't know that I was paying. I was paying about $70 a month for 6 megabytes of speed. I had no idea, because I didn't have to use it. I was always in my office, right downtown, working. So, you know, who cares about the technology, the internet connection? But now when everything shut down and then everyone said to do live stream, I could not, because I knew it would be spotty and I'd be dropped off all the time. So I literally had everyone just doing their thing, getting on live and all that. And I was like, okay, y'all do what you do, but I know I have sustaining power because I've been at this for years, right? 13 years. So let me just sort at the time it was 13 years. Let me just sort my technology out, because I'm coming for y'all for sure. And I'm going to stay on it and stay on it and stay on it. And of course, I switched. They were able to have during that time a new group in town. And they do 100 megabytes of speed at a $34, much cheaper. And now I can consistently put that content out. So that's a good point, actually, to emphasize. If you're going to go on IG, if you're going to go on all these things, and we've seen that goes back to the experience we're talking about. We've seen that when people get on IG, they're the ones hosting, and it's like, it's spotty, it's switched off. Or for some of the Nigerian influencers I've seen, I understand that, you know, NEPA is a problem, but they're talking and all of a sudden the lights go up and it's dark. You can't see them and you see their guests, you know, you manage, but nonetheless.
But also, as you're saying, but that again, because I know that is extremely important, but also consistency, because no matter what, there's not, to me, one thing I always say is consistency over perfection. Right?
Of course.
Unless you're consistent, you can never get to that point of perfection. Because again, I know creatives, we know creatives. They're always anything
we are creatives.
Anything that's an excuse for not to, they're going to latch onto that. But no, even if as you're doing live, again, I could have given up, or we could have given up after the first 2 tries and say, you know what, that's it. Let's draw another day. But when you keep on showing up, I'm sure the fans appreciate that. Although we're having issues, but we're still trying to pro through, and that's the same thing with fans. The more you know, no matter how much you try to engage and create content and show up, even if it doesn't go the way you think it's going to, but the consistency, your fans will see through it and be like, you know what, I'm just going to support him just because he shows up on a regular basis.
Yeah,
and might not be perfect, and I'll be there.
I was gonna say perfection too is nice, but not necessarily. Don't kill yourself over things. I think we admire artists that put in so much craft to get us the perfect thing, but ultimately the work has to come out. We admire athletes. You know, I've always played sports that really perform at a high level and put in a lot of the practice to get there. But it's okay if other sports athletes are not on that kind of level per se. The key thing is the consistency. Consistency beats anything. And I think for you, for me, and a lot of the other influencers and brands that have been able to stay, that consistency is the key thing. And sometimes you also have to know when to step off you take the foot off the gas pedal too, to break and re-energize and go. So yes, consistency, but also know how to tie in that break into it. So let's finish it out talking about consistency. Your 390-day calendar. I was intrigued by it. I'm still intrigued by it. Now, before I ask you the question, let me tell you what I've always done when it comes to content production, right? In managing a team, I came from a fashion media background and just media in general. And as an editor on some of the publications I worked with, you always have an editorial calendar. So for my own platforms, I've always created an editorial calendar of the topics I want to talk about, the different areas I want to go into about those editorial calendars. So I'm curious for you specifically, 390-day calendar to create content for artists, and it seems like non-artists too can use it. What inspired that? Tell me about it.
I think for me, when I teamed up with my friend Desiree, I created it with my co-creator Desiree. Desiree has worked with everybody in the UK, from Sainsbury's to Yahoo and we've both, funny enough, we've actually also known each other for the last 20 years. And so we've worked with a lot of very big brands, and being an artist manager, been on ground zero, dealing with artists. One of their the hardest thing is, okay, how do I stay consistent with whatever it is that I'm doing? Because they're thinking of creating the music, shooting the videos, just creating music consistently. They're like, oh no, this social media stuff, I'll do it whenever I want to, whenever I feel like it, and let's see what happens, But again, if you're saying your funds are limited and you don't have as much money, and you're trying to really grow your audience, and today's marketplace, you showing up social gives you that, not just social credibility, but has social currency that you have to know how to tap into it. So a lot of artists were like, okay, what should I be posting on social? What should I post today? And I'm always giving people different ideas. Okay, why don't you on Monday, when everybody likes Motivation Monday, why don't you create Motivation Monday, a book or film or song that's inspired you from when you were young, or this is the song that got you into songwriting. Every week, come up with a different song. Oh, Fan Appreciation Tuesday. A fan that has left you an awesome quote on your feed or said something really nice. Shout them out on your feed. Wednesday, song creation Wednesday when you're writing music. So I was always just giving different, based on who you are as an artist, I was always just giving different tips and advice on what they should be creating consistently over the space of a week. And I was like, you know what? Let me save people the hassle, because I do this for other clients as well outside of music, and creating their content calendars and so on and so forth. I'm like, let me just make it easy. What if I could give someone a calendar that for the whole year, they literally don't have to think about what to create. They can just plug and play, literally. And also, and I thought, that'd be an interesting one. So I now looked, me and my friend Desiree, we looked at this whole year and looked at important dates that were happening in 2021, dates that around you could also use for promoting your music, again, like maybe like the Olympics, Mother's Day, and what are these different events that you might not be aware of. But again, if Mother's Day is coming next week and you have a song that's targeted towards mothers, it will make sense for you to use that as part of a strategy to put it out. So I'm like, no, let's give artists something that takes that hassle out of the way. In case you can't come to me and hire me to help you create content, what is the next best thing I can do for you? Because I know it's a struggle and it's a hassle for a lot of creators. I'm like, we're going to create a content calendar that literally artists can look at and they can apply it. If you're a producer, if you're an artist, if you're a songwriter, or if you're not in the creative space, but you can still look at it and utilize every single weekly content, monthly content for 390 days. So for a year and a month, look at the content this day. Oh, this is what I need to create. So then you don't need to just do it. You can literally have an assistant and say, oh, for the month of July, these are all the stuff that I'm doing.
That.
You're like, so it doesn't have to be you now, because you have to be smart. It's all about how do you automate your process? Because again, as creative, we always think it has to be you doing it. But how do you create a system and a structure where if it's not you, so you can take a bunch of pictures, like 100 pictures, take images from your photo shoot. But if your assistant or like a PA knows that, oh, for the month of June, these are the content that we're putting out, then everything that you're giving them creatively, they can just match it to that content that you have to put out every single day. Literally, yeah. Olympics is coming. Oh, by the way, do you know that Olympics is going to be coming in July? So why don't you maybe do a song about champions or something that, high performers or something like that? It also helps you create, so I've actually also given you additional ideas of musical stuff that you can even do around that. Run a campaign for Mother's Day. Oh, by the way, here is a dinner for two of my fans to take their mothers out on this. All I need you to do is tell me the lyrics to my song or whatever it is. So you're able to utilize it in so many different ways. But the most important thing is it takes out the hassle from you as a creative, as a business, as a brand, thinking, what do I create every single day? I've literally given you the blueprint. Besides that, there are also 3 additional benefits that we gave people. We did the hashtag research as well for them, that you can utilize, as well as other important dates for the whole year that you can also use that you might know. Pancake Day, for example, Children's Day, like some things that you never would have thought about, and finally we also added 50 additional content that, again, outside of the content calendar, we've already given you 390 days, additional ones that you can also utilize. And these are high engaging content that if you're using across your Instagram, your Twitter, and we also make sure it was cross-platform usable. So no matter the platform that you're in, you can use it on Instagram, you can use it on LinkedIn, you can use it on Twitter, and also for Facebook, for your stories as well as your main feed. And
so quick question. to me, the way you describe it, it's applicable to anyone, really, even though you have the artist, because that sounds like something that anyone should get. And I like how you talk about automation as well. It's so important to automate systems, like every single aspect of your business as a musician should have on and non-musician, every single aspect of your business, or if you're running a personal brand, document every single step that it takes to create a particular one. So for example, this podcast that I create, every single step from the onset of inviting the guest all the way down to post-production and everything involved is there, so that then the persons that are helping me can have, okay, I want you to handle distribution. Here are the systems on distribution to ensure all of this content goes out. I want you to handle post-production. Here are the systems. So you have to document everything. And I like that you talk about that automation part. Most businesses that are successful are built on that ability to automate systems, because then it frees up the time to rainmake, and it frees up the time also to focus on other things that can, better customer service, or things that can add more value and create more revenue and ultimately help you run a profitable business. Steve, where can people get that calendar? You're muted. Please unmute.
Yeah, if you go to Steve Spotlight on Instagram, Steve Spotlight, one word. I have a link tree. It's literally in there. If you just go in for 390 days content calendar, is literally, and I've literally normally I would charge over close to £100.
Hold on a sec. Just give it to me. I want to put it on the screen. Steve's. Oh, do you have a particular website?
No, literally right now it's on the link tree. So I put it on the link tree. It's just the easiest thing for people to kind of get through.
Okay. So what is your handle?
Steve Spotlight.
Steve Spotlight. Okay.
One word. Yeah, so if they go in there, they'll see a link tree, and you just have to look at within the link tree 390 days content calendar for artists and creatives. It's a bonus. Yeah, so it's a bonus that I have on there. All the bonuses are there, as well as special.
Hold on a sec. So everyone, you should be able to see it on your screen. At Steve Spotlight is his handle, Steve Spotlight on Instagram. So if you go there, you were saying, if they go there, what happens?
If you go in there, you see where it says 390 days content calendar for artists. Literally, the ultimate 390 days. Just click on that. It'll tell you where you just have to put in your email. Again, it'll create my own email list, and you'll be able to kind of get the content calendar. And I would love to hear people's opinions on what they think about it. Maybe because we're going to do another rendition soon. Kind of next year, how beneficial it is for them. And I've got a lot of great remarks, and people are like, wow, how would you even think of a whole year? Literally.
A whole year, that's a lot. Yeah. But obviously the content is also being recycled, some of the content. Okay, so we have one comment here. Let me get one comment in from Samson Malaki. It says consistency over perfection. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Okay. All right. So we are officially. Go ahead.
Just the reason why I also created a content calendar. When it comes to social, you have been on social is like being in a relationship with someone. If let's say we're dating and I'm there, just I put out music and for like a week I went and dine you, then all of a sudden I disappear for 6 months. I disappear for 3 months, and I come back. I expect you to have the same level of connection and affection for me. It's not gonna work. Literally. So this helps you make sure you
build in the relationship.
Exactly. That's and you're always showing up for people, and you're always showing up with your audience, and you're building as you go along. That's another reason. So that you don't have a dip where it's like you're always having to build them up again. And people are like, I'm not going to commit to you as a fan. I'm not going to commit my time because I don't know if you're here this week. If you're not, you're going to be away for another 3 weeks or 4 months. Like, why should I devote my time to you? To give you like, no.
Not only that, when you show up, you're constantly asking, give me, buy this, buy that. That's so annoying to me, especially when artists do it. Very annoying. Anytime I hear from you, it's to ask me for something, but you don't build a relationship. There's an artist that used to do that. I didn't bother telling him, but it became so irritating to me. Oh, plug this music, plug that. Build a relationship even with your journalists and all that as well. Like, make it make sense. They're not every time promote this, promote that, and with a very entitled sense as well. So I was like, oh no, you're crazy. Then it's not like your music is like groundbreaking earth shattering. It's not that kind of party. We're not going to be having that kind of party.
And it is social for a reason.
Yeah.
It's called social media for a reason. You want to be sociable.
Exactly.
It's not called the marketplace. It's not called Facebook. It's social media. Be
Absolutely.
social.
You have to, exactly. You have to interact and have that social relationship. Well, Steve, I want to thank you so much for your appearance. I think we really enlightened people, whoever is going to come back and watch it. Some of those concepts are brand new for a lot of people. Some of it might be a little over their heads, but I'm hoping that we explain it in as simple terms as possible so that they can understand it. If you're watching this, just go back and watch it all over again and ensure that you can apply the principles. Whether you're a new business, you're an emerging artist, you're an established record label, it doesn't matter what industry, whether you're a filmmaker at the very tail end of writing that, initial stage of writing a script, trying to produce it ultimately and get it to the networks, or even, relationship with Netflix. It doesn't matter whatever categories. All of what we're talking about right now applies completely to brands. If you're a personal brand and you want to build thought leadership and become the key positioned person that everyone hears your authority, for example, I'm talking about law, everything we've talked about applies. So take it, rinse and repeat, and hopefully you see success as you do it. Steve, I'm going to put you in the waiting room or the green room, and I will be right with you. Let me close it up with my audience, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, all right. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for watching. This will be available next week, this coming week, that is, via podcast. It'll probably be obviously a more streamlined version. That way we cut out some of the on the post-production to make sure that the hearing and listening experience is good. Make sure you're sharing this. Please rate us on Apple Podcasts. It allows more people to be able to find our podcast and hear this wonderful quality content we're creating. I appreciate you for your time. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next time. Generally, this is every Sunday. I do intend to continue it every Sunday. So I will see you next week, Sunday. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.